So, my name is Valerie Chaussonnet, and I'm honored to be having a show here in Midland. And this is where you enter the show. And I have here a representation of two of my mediums, which are a watercolor and then a still landscape. The still landscape is inspired by Japanese landscapes that were done in sumi ink. And it was fun for me because I did a series of those, and then I had fun with my watercolor and ink of doing a 2D. So it's going back to the original that way. And I like this landscape. It has a little exotic, little Gauguin feel to me. And Gauguin being an artist that I'm not sure I liked as a person for obvious reasons, but was an outstanding colorist. So for me, I think it's fun having this practice where my still work is mostly monochromatic, roughly speaking. There's a variation in the colors, but then my 2D work tends to be really colorful, and that's where I put the colors. I don't have the textures and the 3D, but I have the colors. Then here we have another example of a small landscape, which to me makes me think of the Pirates of the Caribbean. There is an odd little thing here, and you can lose yourself in this strange imaginary landscape. And then here's another representation of a lot of the abstract watercolors that I like doing. And here's the main room where I'm able to have a collection of my small pieces that are goddesses. It's a reference to the Middle Ages and to the prehistory. And it's a reference, this is a goddess of fertility. She has a little baby in her belly. And this was a cast-off piece that was a demonstration a teacher did for an, I guess an axe. And she came with a mark here and then the breasts here on the stick. And then this one is the second one I did, and that's the goddess of nursing. And she's like falling. I've loved nursing my children, but it's also a tiring thing to do. And she is like, I wanted to show the tiredness, but also the fact that that's moms, you know, we're getting exposed to a lot of things. So I wanted to have that odd angle like this. And then I said, this is from the time of milk and formula. And so when you run out of milk, fortunately in modern time, you have formula. This one is the goddess from girlhood to womanhood, and I see it as a symbolic of the chakras, of growing into from a little seed to a little girl to the spirit of a girl, and then like maybe this targeting like the womb and, you know, the second chakra area, and then all the rest and developing. And then the fourth goddess is here, and this one is a double goddess of puberty. I think teenage girls, teenage women are amazing, and this was my representation of girlfriends that are together and they have long feet and have a little beginner's breasts, and they're always in pair, and they walking into the world and into life like this. So I like this piece, very symbolic. Then here we have a mysterious piece, which is another sumi landscape, and that one is Venice, and it has the underground of Venice, the under the water, the piers, the strange things. There is a full moon rising in the back, the trees look fake like a theater play. And I like this piece a lot, but I thought it was really fun having an alcove to do that and put it here. Another surprise is a self-portrait that I have here, made of a Playmobil of a little welder woman. And that's because I love welding and blacksmithing so much, and I've actually done in this area as this is being built, and it kind of like a little industrial looking. I've put my material, my jacket designed by J.C. Combs, which is like close to my heart, and the gloves designed for women by J.C. Combs, and then an old helmet, because of course my current helmet, which also was designed by J.C. Combs, I'm using, so it's back in Austin. And here I have a series that's really close to my heart. I made some letters with the coupon that are cast off from welding exercise at the welding school, and those have like a strong texture, and I think those beads from the welding are like words, And I've made a flap, and I've put a stamp and an address, and then I make them into letters. And all of them have a story. This is a part where I encourage people to actually hold them and be careful not to drop them. They're heavy. Don't hurt yourself. But you can hold them, and then you can touch them and look at the back, because the back have a story. And there are funny stories. Of course, they seem to be making fun of boyfriends, but I think they're making fun of the girlfriends that land with those boyfriends. So it's all in fairness. Here I have, that's the biggest painting I have here, and that's actually an oil color, and that's a portrait of my sons. I see them as small children, when children live at this level, and they see all the scary things that we don't see as adults, and as adults who are here, you don't even see the beginning of the leaves. This was done after a black and white photograph by Ansel Adams that he did in New Mexico of aspens. So I created the colors, and then I made it spooky and all of that. And then if we go here, I have a Soviet red little monument to mini monument, so scaled down monument to airspace progress in the Soviet Union with the Sputnik, and then Soyuz, and then the station here. And it's fun because I wanted to have the energy of those Soviet monument forward. I spent a lot of time in Russia at the time of the Soviet Union, and so I was inspired by this. And I have little pen ink landscapes that are dear to me and really fun to do in this scale. I like to do work on various scales. This room here, I think, turned out really well once we conceive it. It looks a little bit like a cabin in a ship, and there are all these references to the sea. So this is another portrait of my sons, and it's called Out of the Egg into the World. And that's like an egg that reminds me of Jeronimos Bosch, the Bubbles, the Garden of Delight, with those ships. And each boy has its own little ship. And one of them was, when I made this, my oldest was already out of the house, and my youngest was at the, in high school and getting ready. So I have him ready to jump off and be off on their way. I've done a whole series inspired by Japanese ukiyo-e portraits on very light paper, rice paper, prints of famous geishas of the time, and very stylized, and that was very influential on the art of French artists 100 years ago that created this movement called Japonism, which was an influence from Japan, like Van Gogh being one of the most famous ones, and then everybody who was working in France at the time. And I took that reference, and then I made sculptures that are heavy but referenced to very thin, very light paper. And I have a whole big series, but I couldn't bring them all. But I think it's fun having a little lover's corner going on in this. And this is a portrait of Commodore Perry, who opened Japan to commerce. And I have my own personal story between him and Chung Su, this person who is actually a portrait of a person I know. And you can read on my website about that story. Here are two pieces that are very dear to me. This one I did 2 years ago, and it's designed to make people smile and maybe cringe a little bit. It's called Meeting the Parents. And people look at it and then recognize the situation with those sturdy parents waiting there to see those terrified teenagers meeting. And I had in mind to do this one, and I did this one specifically for this show a few weeks ago. And this one is Meeting the Tribe. So now a family comes back with a baby and a toddler maybe, and they're meeting the tribe. And my idea is that those characters are all talking, probably criticizing, commenting, because it's really hard to fit in a tribe. And I'm thinking this is maybe a girl who's going to be the future leader of a tribe that has never had a girl as a leader. So I think it's a hopeful piece. But at the same time, I'm also aware this one is way more tilted and way more precarious, and it looks like it's about to fold over. And the image also came, I'm sure, from seeing news of refugees coming over here and filling their plot. So, and then more marine things. This is my bio, a copy of the bio I illustrated. And it's, I think it's kind of entertaining and fun to see this. And then, to finish with this corner, here we have the 3 sentinels. I see them as 3 old wise ladies that would be a guardian. They would be maybe my guardian. This one has 4 eyes for the 4 directions. This one has 1 very focused eye on whatever is at hand, whatever work is at hand. And this one has 2 eyes like a regular person, and I think she's help support those 2 for their very important work of seeing every direction, but also being focused. And these guys are the poster guys. Those are 5 singers that sing a madrigal. You see their mouths are open. Those are actually, they look very stylized and maybe a little puzzling, but they're actually portraits of early musicians I know from Austin that I've been spending time with. And when I was doing their mouth, I was thinking of specific people. And it's 5 different voices that you have in the madrigal, which would be a form from the 16th, 17th century of beautiful music. And one of the last pieces I created also for this show is this one, which is like a Venus sleeping and dreaming. And it was really fun because I then did this after a walk in the Greenbelt, which is the forest in the middle of Austin that lands into Barton Springs. I made this watercolor and then I realized that I was starting to use those same meandering designs. And this piece is a little older, but the cypress is a tree that is really dear, close to my heart. I'm from Provence, so it's like Italy with those cypresses. And I was so thrilled driving into Midland and seeing so many of them around, and I'm thinking, those guys are going to be so happy. So that's a symbolic portrait of Dali, Miro, and Picasso, like, you know, those 3 Spaniards that were French in many ways, spent all their career in France. And that's